call to order the August meeting for the town of Chincoteague. If we could all please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Like the Mayor just said, Lord, we do want to thank you, praise you, Lord, for getting us to where we are right now, Lord. We want to thank you for having a successful carnival, Lord, and all the many people who helped volunteer, Lord, for time and effort, Lord, and for the town of Chincoteague to have a good ambulance and forest service, Lord. We thank you for the people that just donated money, Lord, and even to send back ponies, Lord. We thank you for this beautiful ambulance you give us. Lord, we want to praise you in everything you do. And like the sign on the firehouse says, Lord, says thank you, Lord. We don't thank you enough, Lord. We don't praise you enough. Lord, we do want to pray, first of all, for this country, this fractured country, Lord. But, Lord, I really think it's more simple than what we know, Lord, because if we all would just do your will and seek your favor, Lord, this country would come back a lot closer. Lord, just go with us in everything that we do, Lord. We pray for the safety of our town workers, Lord, and our fire department, Lord, our EMS, Lord, and certainly our police department, Lord. Nobody understands until they walk in their footsteps the issues they come in contact with, Lord. Lord, just go with us, Lord, and give us the strength and give us the wisdom, Lord, and everything that we do, Lord. And we do pray for our sick on this island, Lord, and those that are going through trying times, Lord, and extended illnesses, Lord. And Lord, just we pray to give them strength, Lord. And Lord, just go with us and guide us and direct us in everything that we do. For we ask these things in Jesus' precious name. For his sake, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we don't have to, everybody's here. First, let me apologize. My voice wears out after the auction every year, so I've got a gruffly, hard to, I can tell it's not my normal voice. Would you read the rules for public comment, Mr. Talbot?
Yes, sir. Rules for public comment. All attendees wishing to speak shall sign up on the provided roster. Speakers must preface their comments by stating their name and non-known address. Comments should be limited to 4 minutes per speaker. A speaker cannot reserve or transfer time to another speaker. Speakers must not use profanity, threatening language, or otherwise be abusive of council, members, or staff. Speakers shall not address specific personnel matters which involve individual employees in public meeting. Members of the council will not answer questions directly or engage with speakers, and specific questions shall be directed to the mayor, who at his discretion shall solicit a response from the appropriate staff member.
Thank you, Mr. Talbot. First on our list is Julie Brommer.
Hello, I'm Julie Brommer, President of Chincoteague Island Community Cats. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Town Council, for this opportunity to update you on CICC's activities. Between January and June of this year, CI Community Cats continued to work towards our mission of a sustainable trap, neuter, and return program for the island cats. And thanks to our dedicated volunteers, CICC was able to spay, neuter, vaccinate, and return 49 cats. Instead of our typical TNR weekend clinic, we were able to achieve this by partnering with Roadrunner Rescue, who drove our cats across the Bay Bridge for surgeries, the Humane Society of Wicomico, Layfield, Princess Anne, Somerset Animal Hospital, and most recently, Community Cats Care Clinic, that's located right here on the island. CICC has set a goal to TNR 150 island cats this year, and we will continue to plan these TNR surgeries through the week and hold a fall TNR weekend clinic, November 3rd through the 6th. I'd like to thank the town for allowing CICC to use the Island Activity Center in November. CICC will be working with the Virginia Beach Neuter Scooter to TNR up to 50 cats on November 4th and the 5th. And on Sunday, November 6th, the cats will be returned to their outdoor homes. This Monday coming up, we're having a discount day at Maui Jack's. So Money will be raised to help us continue to pay for TNR surgeries. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Next up is Miss Evelyn from the chamber, I would guess, since you're wearing your name tag.
Follow the neuter scooter, huh? Well, yes, Evelyn Shotwell, Executive Director of the... That's right. It could be worse. Chincoteague Chamber of Commerce, 6733 Maddox Boulevard. I'm here tonight just to give a huge shout out to the police department, the EMS, the town, fire company, saltwater cowboys, all the volunteers that helped us get through, that put everything together for last week. We had a lot of folks here on the island, and thank you all for getting those folks around and taking care of them. And we didn't really hear any complaints in the office. Typical little glitches here and there about where to go and what to do. I mean, not glitches, but just where to go, what to do, so forth. So thank you to everybody who had a part in last week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to leave you with just a little tidbit that happened at 3 o'clock this afternoon. My little pony swim video that I took on Rose Boat reached 5 million views. Wow. And 11,758 plus some extra people that I know it's gone higher than that now, reaches. For the week, we reached through social... This is just Facebook alone. I just uploaded them to YouTube today, so we don't have any YouTube numbers in here. This is just Facebook. So for the week, Facebook reaches were 13,771,665. In 2019, for that week, we were at 2 million. 2 million. So just some little numbers to take home with you tonight. So... and, the other videos, the marsh, going out through the marsh, the parade, the swim back, those were really high numbers as well, but they're not added into this. This was just the swim. So thank you for the opportunity to be out there, and we were just delighted to be a part of it and happy to keep sharing the information about it. We've already had calls today. They're booking for next year. So Colorado, and I don't know where else has called in today, wants to know what to do. Is it too early to book now for next year? I said, no, not at all. So thank you all.
Thank you, Evan, for your continued work. All righty, I'll entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on is government report. Mr. Talbert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, on Friday, July 15th, we had a bulkhead failure down at Memorial Park. It's in the northernmost end of the property of Memorial Park, and the failure affects about 50 linear feet of bulkhead right now. And we do have some landmass loss behind it. It's been stabilized by a neighboring property owner right now, so we haven't had too much action on that in the last several days. We have contacted a marine contractor who has given us a price on repairing it, and I have also contacted the Corps of Engineers, and as of today heard from the Wetlands Board also, and both of which gave us permission to repair the to repair the bulkhead, and they would look at an after-the-fact permit from us. And of course, they gave me verbally, or I should say via email, gave me the limits to which we could do it, which was basically repair the existing bulkhead, and we were allowed to go seaward just enough to replace that existing bulkhead, which is typical in these cases. So we'll also be discussing some more about this during our executive session. The Inlet Study. As all of you know, we have a proposed Inlet Study, and it's been on the books for quite a number of years now. I spoke with Michelle Hamer, who is the Corps of Engineers Chief of Planning and Policy Branch of the Norfolk District, and we have a site visit from her and the Colonel of the Norfolk District coming up on August 19th. I have asked, as of today, NASA Wallops and U.S. Fish and Wildlife if they would provide representatives at that meeting. I hope to have a few council there as well. And they want to do a tour of the island so that we can get a strategy together to have to make sure that their budget request for this next year goes through. So it's a very important meeting we have with them on the 19th. And I did thank them for putting forth the effort to come out here and go with us. I offered a boat tour. They don't want to do that yet, but they may do that in the future. If you'll remember 2 or 3 meetings ago, we had mention of a cigarette tax by the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, Mr. Billy Joe Tar. I've looked into that, and I have notified the county administrator that Chincoteague is interested in doing this. And he sighed deeply and said, okay, and then gave me all the information on how to do that. I have contacted the Northern Neck Planning District Commission, who administers the Chesapeake Bay Regional Cigarette Tax Board. They administer that. I've had discussions with their executive director, and we're getting all the necessary paperwork in place. Should have an ordinance available at our ordinance committee meeting next week for the ordinance committee to take a look at. And then there's a public hearing required and approved by the council, as well as an agreement to sign. And after discussing this with the executive director, we think that this could all be done and ready to go on January 1st. So that we can start collecting taxes. Of course, the council will have to set a rate at which they want to collect those taxes. He also told me today that of the, I believe it's 10, we would be the 11th member of this board, that all members but Accomack County collect the maximum, which is 4 cents per pack. I'm sorry, 40 cents per pack, $4 per carton. Accomack chose only to collect 10 cents per pack. So 40 is the maximum allowed by the state. So the council will have to make a decision on what rate they want to collect this tax at. But it's certainly doable, and we think it can be done by January and implemented on January 1st. Financial report. We got the second tranche of ARPA money a few days ago. It was supposed to come before the end of the fiscal year, so therefore we didn't have it in the FY23 budget. We'll do that with an amendment. It's tough. We got another almost $1.5 million, but that does skew our numbers somewhat on the financial report. As I said, we'll account for that in a future amendment to the budget. But right now, basically, if you look at all the other items on our financial report, we're basically where we should be in revenues and expenses for this time of year. Some up, some down a little bit, but basically where we should be with no real anomalies. In front of you, each of you has a copy of this year's FY21 audit review. It did take some time to do. We'll speak to our auditors about that next year, see if we can't push that along a little bit so it's not a whole year before we get that. And I did say FY21, so it's not a whole year before we get that document. Nothing out of the way. It compares according to our audit, the chief auditor. It compares favorably with previous audits. Nothing out of the ordinary for us. Of course, there was no detection of fraud, malfeasance, or incompetence. It's there for your reading. If you have any specific questions, I'll be glad to solicit those from the auditor if I can't answer them. And there's a good question, I won't be able to answer those questions. But we will definitely get answers if you need them. Looking at meals and transient taxes, the data below is for the month of July, collections in the month of July, which are for business activity in time for the month of June. We continue to be a little off from last year. Meals is off about 14.5%, transient's off about 10.8%. But if you look at those numbers compared with pre-COVID numbers, they compare favorably. So it's looking more and more like last year was a little bit of a bubble. So still strong numbers, just not quite as good as last year. Building and zoning, 39 permits issued in the month of July. Numerous inspections and site visits. And I will tell you that last Friday I executed a contract with iWork Systems, which will be doing our cloud-based permitting system. Mark and I looked at several different solutions for that. iWork seemed to be a good solution. They worked within our time. They worked within our budget. And the other folks that Mark talked with in the state of Virginia all had good things to say about them. The last thing we had to answer was concerning our GIS information. iWorks uses our existing GIS information which in our case belongs to the county. And that information is used to pre-populate forms and that sort of thing, and also identify the property that you're building on. The big question we had was if we were going to have to pay an additional fee for that service, and the answer is no from the county. So they will, the county will provide the data to iWorks, and they will use that to integrate with the system they're providing for us. We're excited to have this. As I said, it does everything we want it to do, supposedly. It'll take about 60 days to implement, and as I said, it's completely within our budget that we set out a year ago for this purpose. Any questions on my report? I'll be glad to answer.
That cigarette tax, that's the deal that if we don't do it, then the county does it.
Absolutely. We can also allow the county to do it as we do it as well. That's an option. I told them we wouldn't be doing that, most likely.
You mean on top of what we get?
Yeah.
Up to the state maximum threshold?
Yes.
You can't get the state maximum threshold
That is
from
my
the county,
understanding.
right?
That is my understanding. But then the specific question that the director asked me was, will you be doing this alone or along with the county? I said, I'm pretty sure we'll be doing this just by ourselves. But, and he also asked if Mr. Mason was aware. I said, yes, Mr. Mason's aware that we will be doing this.
So that means if we collect it on here, the county can't
Correct.
collect anything on here?
Correct.
And I'm not going to lie to you either. I mean, the tax that we have on food is, if we do the maximum, it's going to be on the same line. The 40 cent, you know what I mean? It could be roughly a pack of cigarette costs what? At least $4 a pack, right? A pack of cigarettes, a regular pack of cigarettes, at least $4 a pack. So 10% of is 40 cents. So I don't think we should, and like I said, I don't think we should be taxing food more than we would be the pack of cigarettes, if you understand what I'm saying. That's my reasoning for that. It's not I don't want to hurt somebody, but I think when you're taxing food at what we're taxing food at, I think you do this pack of cigarettes for the same thing, is what I'm trying to say. I don't think you do it that. That's
And, you know, I will say that the tax, the way it's written in the state code, is not a percentage.
right, but I'm just using the $4 a pack and 40 cent, you know, as a.
Yep.
Like some sure you can find it cheaper and some packs can be more, but I'm saying I don't see doing less than the max because of the way we tax food. That's what I'm trying to say.
Any further questions for Mr. Talbot? Thank you, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Next is the police report. Chief Fisher.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. One little addition on our citations. We had in here 36. Well, being a busy weekend last weekend, we had a selective enforcement shift on Friday and Saturday, so that jumped up to 61 citations. Busy weekend. On July 4th through the 30th, we have assisted the Shintig Volunteer Fire Company with their carnival and fireworks displays, both evenings. Very good turnouts for both of the fireworks. I think the carnival had a pretty good carnival.
You don't think
this year.
so?
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yes. Usually every night we had one of our officers and a deputy from Acp was assigned down there. So don't think any major problems that I've heard of. So we were good there. July 20th, we held a departmental meeting for our department with the dispatchers, officers, and everybody for the upcoming pony swim. Also on that date, Sergeant Adams and Corporal Butler traveled to Virginia Beach to complete their impossibilizer operator recertification. On the 26th, myself, Major Greenlee, Investigator Barnes, the mayor, town manager, Mr. Rush, we all met with the Virginia State Police. They're a big help to us. I don't know how we could do it without them on this one day. Traditionally, that Tuesday before we meet with them, they have all of the state troopers here that are going to be working. And we meet here with them, make sure everybody knows, you know, because they bring troopers in from all over the state. So they're not familiar with Chincoteague or Pony County, a lot of them. So, you know, we give them a basic rundown of everything, tell them where they're going to be at, and, you know, what their job is. That was very well. We had a captain and a lieutenant. Both were here. And one of the persons from the governor's was here for it also, being the governor, was able, and him and his wife were able to come. Everything went great there. Of course, the 27th, we had to swim. And, I'm going to echo what everyone said. I think everybody in this town, all the volunteers, the bus drivers, I don't want to get listing everybody because I'm afraid I'll leave somebody out, but everybody did a great job for being on for 2 years. We had a few glitches here and there, but overall, I think everything went great for the pony swim. 28th, myself and Major Greenland, Patrolman Matthews were down at the carnival also for the auction, just to make sure everything went great there. And then on the 29th, we're happy to help them get the ponies back. And that's pretty much all we had. If anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer any.
I've just got a comment. All through Pony Week, we were watching YouTube and watching historical videos of YouTube, and we saw you wrestling ponies. Like 1980, we were still in high school.
He was probably a
But
senior.
yeah, you were.
Been a long time.
You were wrestling ponies. you and Ellis had a hold of one.
Yeah, I had the offer this year, but I politely declined.
Yeah, they'd end up dragging me around.
No, yes.
Anyhow, the state police were extremely thorough. That meeting was very impressive.
Yes.
Is First Sergeant Jones from the shore?
No. He was over here. He was stationed over here back a few years ago as a first sergeant before Captain Myers, First Sergeant Myers, and he was relocated back across the bay. And when First Sergeant Myers retired, they brought him back over here to do the first sergeant work until they appointed. Now, the week before pony pinning, they appointed Jeff Remus, who was a sergeant here, as the first sergeant. And as you all know, we hired his son. Also, Colin Remus.
That's a plus.
He starts next week. So.
They were very thorough and
very good.
No nonsense. They were.
Yes.
That was good.
Yes.
Any further questions of the chief? Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you all very much.
Next up is EMS. Mr. Rush.
Good evening. How are you this evening? And I will echo what everyone else says. Last week was an amazing week, and we all worked to get through it. I've got updated numbers for you tonight. As you know, we turned in our report on the 25th. So through the 31st, we've went from that 92 up to 133 calls. I will say that on the actual pony swim day, it didn't start out well, but it really settled itself out until later that afternoon. So people drank water, tried to get in the shade, cooled themselves down, so that was a good thing. But as you can see, we did end up with 133 total calls for the month of July, which was 8 more than last July. So certainly a very, very busy month. I am going to point out one thing on that. Out of those 133 calls, I believe 14 of them were mutual aid to the mainland. And our average time to get an ambulance at your emergency, counting those calls as well, out of those 133 calls, was 4.83 minutes. That's pretty good. That just goes to show that you, as the elected officials, putting stock into the system and our system working the way that it does. 4.83 minutes. We had an ambulance on the scene of those emergencies last month. So that's a really good average when you look at it that way. All right. This thing's trying to just go ahead and space bar for me. All right, so as you remember last month, we did our incident citations. Mr. Seth John Zach, was not able to be with us, so we have since presented him his citation. So again, I want to reach out to all those folks and appreciate all the hard work that they give us. On the emergency management side of the house, right before we leave EMS, I do want to reach out and thank Parksley Greenbackville, and Oak Hall. They all supported us on swim day. Greenbackville loaned us an ambulance that we ended up staffing with 2 of our staff. MRC, as you know, did not attend this year. They did offer to lend us their equipment. However, once I sat back and really planned logistically, it was better to put another ambulance on the street and have our ambulances do first aid, because now they were available for both first aid and if we had an emergency. So logistically, it just worked out better that way. Parksley, like I said, supplied an ambulance with staffing as well as Oak Hall. And then Oak Hall helped us again on auction day. And also on fireworks night, Oak Hall came over to help us, so I just want to thank them. New Church, they were great, helping Larry in the back load and unload buses and trolleys. And also, I want to thank Atlantic Volunteer Fire Company, because they did the fire watch for the fireworks Saturday night to make sure everything behaved itself. So moving on, we're still watching COVID-19, monitoring the tropics. Everyone needs to be aware August starts the busier time in the Atlantic Basin, with September 10th traditionally being the busiest. Again, in July, we worked on fireworks planning for both the 4th and the 30th. The 4th after action is what we use to respond to Saturday night. So everything went fairly well. We are going to have a quick hot wash in the morning over the fireworks, and then also over pony swim last week, so that we can begin doing those after action reports for both the fireworks and pony penning, so that we can get better for next year. And Terry still no sooner than middle October, and just in the last beginning of last week, completed and submitted our 2022 local capability assessment report to Vdem, which drives a lot of the training and stuff throughout the next year. So COVID, we're still talking about that, obviously, and there's a lot of busy numbers up there. I'm going to point to the yellow one, which is our state 7-day positivity rate is now up to 23.2%. If you look at July 5th, it's only up, just under 2% from 21.6, but it's still high. We fell as low as 17% around the middle of the month, but it's since climbing up again. And since we reported out in July, the state's not reporting on the actual website again every day for what those numbers are, but there's an off-site that you can go to. And since July, we had 40 cases since July 5th up to today. So you can see we've got a little bit of COVID going on. And if you look at the numbers over the previous years there, 22, if you look at the ones in the brackets, they go back to 21 to just kind of give you a reference. So you can see that ebb and flow, and I do believe, and like I've said before, we're going to see that on through the fall and continuing on probably for the foreseeable future. So in summary, EMS remains busy. Again, that pony penning and July 30 after action report will be coming to completion hopefully by the middle of the month. Today, I just got word that Department of Homeland Security is looking for our special events assessment by September 2nd for 2023. So all of our events, our parades, and our pony swims and fireworks and all that kind of good stuff will go out. So we're already planning again for next year. 6 months and older can be vaccinated and should, and then be weather aware. We could have some severe weather coming along, as well as, again, it is hurricane season. So, any questions?
You're good. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Sorry, let me pull it back up here. All right. Next up, we have a committee report from the Budget and Personnel Committee. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, we met on July the 12th, and we talked a little bit about the surplus. We had produced a preliminary estimate of the surplus that we adjusted the budget for. If you remember back in June, I believe, we will be firming that exact surplus number up, and we will have further discussion on that at our September meeting of the Budget and Personnel for all those that are interested. and we will attempt to bring our recommendation back toward council in probably October, first meeting in October, as to the exact allocations of those surpluses. That's all.
All righty, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the minutes from our July 4th meeting.
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next up is our Eastern Shore Broadband update. Mr. Burlington?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes,
And
sir.
I do have to apologize to Robert. His last name is not Burlington, it's Bridgham.
Oh, okay.
I put the wrong Robert on the agenda, and I do apologize. Mr. Bridgham is here to, if you remember, a few meetings ago, there was a question concerning what broadband should do on the island, and he was kind enough to come back and take questions and give us an overview of broadband's efforts on the island, and then take questions from council.
Floor is yours.
Mayor Leonard, thank you very much, and council. I appreciate you allowing me to come here tonight and present a little bit about what the Eastern Shore Broadband Authority has been doing. Again, I've met several of the council members, but several I haven't. So just to kind of give you a little background of who we are and what we're doing, the Broadband Authority was founded in 2008 by the two counties, and we originally were serving commercial entities on the Eastern Shore and facilitating private ISPs to get broadband connectivity to the residents of the Eastern Shore. And in late 2016, early 2017, because of the lack of continued spread of broadband for residential, the Broadband Authority started to provide end-user residential services on the shore. We started in Harborton, we've spread in Church Neck, and basically in both counties have tried to expand our network to increase connectivity. Specifically here on the island of Chincoteague, we did, and I was grateful to be able to present in I believe 2020, right in the middle of COVID, what our plans were for the island. And at this point, the Broadband Authority has fiber optics that extend from the northernmost point up Main Street all the way down to the harbor on the south side of the island, and on the east and west side, and across many of the cross streets. As we stated 2 years ago, we also have made it so, and we funded it such that the Broadband Authority can provide services to anybody on any of the streets on the island. Installations typically are about $150. One of the things that has been a challenge in the past was that we had some large installation charges, and when we did our large build out starting in 2018, one of the things we did is in all the incorporated towns of the Eastern Shore, including Chincoteague, we made our installation charges $150. So that way there wouldn't be variances. That's why we build such an extensive reach in the 19 towns on the shore. Additionally, we also have several programs that we put together to support the community. One of them is we were actually one of the earliest members of something called the EBB program. It's the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program that's turned now into something called the ACP Program, which is the American Affordable Connectivity Plan. And that is a $30 a month benefit for folks that are eligible for the program. Eligibility has features including income levels, low to middle income levels, if you're part of free reduced lunch programs in the schools, and several other factors. The ACP program is actually administered through the FCC, so you can do a Google search for ACP and learn what the program is. You have to register through the FCC to get the benefit, but then it's applied to your bill monthly. So the end user just has to apply for the program, get into the program, and then we take $30 off whatever service plan that you subscribe to. Additionally, we have 3 or 4 other additional programs that help either reduce or eliminate installation charges, and they're all based upon whether or not people are having financial difficulties affording the service. So the Broadband Authority has taken a lot of steps to trying to make it available and affordable for people. At this point, as I mentioned, we've got it on most of the main streets. A lot of the side streets don't have it, but again, it's funded. So if I have a subscriber who needs it on the side of, off of, East Side Road somewhere, we'll put the fiber there if it's not immediately down that particular side street. Installations typically take around 25 to 30 days. So it's fairly quick to get it installed, and it is fiber directly attached to people's houses. So there's no copper in there. There's no, other technologies in the mix. It's fiber optics from your house directly to our network. And then we connect off of the island back to the mainland and then go north and south. So from a resiliency perspective, our network is very redundant and very resilient. Actually, we're the most reliable network on the Eastern Shore, which is great for people as we're trying to deal with, and I know we were talking a few moments ago about emergency services. our network does allow people to survive things like outages and major catastrophes and events. We have stock and materials. We're located here on the Eastern Shore, actually in the town of Exmoor. So our staff is there, our equipment is there, so we can mobilize very quickly to get repairs done, whether you're in Kiptopeke or whether you're in New Church or anywhere in between, including Chincoteague. So that's generally a little bit about our footprint. Our services range in rates from $39.99 up to $149.99, and it just depends on the services that you'd be looking for. I did mention in 2020 when I last presented that our plans we actually, in 2020, we doubled all of our rates as far as bandwidth rates for the same prices. And we did that to support the community better through COVID. And in the fall of last year, our board adopted a new plan to basically make that a permanent change. So people didn't pay anything more, but they got double the rates of what they originally subscribed to. And then lastly, we found with COVID specifically that a lot of providers, and traditionally in the past, ISPs were asymmetric, or the bandwidth's not the same going up to the internet as it is coming down. And that was okay. In the good old days, we used to download emails or we used to download websites. And yeah, we'd send one occasionally out, but 99% of our usage was mostly one directional. In today's age, we've got people doing FaceTime to their family members. We've got Zoom meetings, which I'm sure we've all Zoomed enough times in our lives at this point to get tired of it. But we found that asymmetric services is not as useful as it used to be. And really, people need bandwidth up to the internet as much as down to the internet. So we're the only provider who provides symmetric services. So if you buy our 50 megabit service, it's 50 megabits up to the internet and down from the internet. Trying to make sure that we're getting a product that fits those needs, the community as they need it. So that's, again, I don't want to take too much of your time. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, but that's kind of a quick overview.
Go ahead, Denise.
Please.
I've got a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
How many customers do you have on Chincoteague right now?
Right now, we only have 7 customers in Chincoteague. It's very low.
Okay.
And if I can, go ahead.
The $150 installation fee, is that the wire comes out of the ground somewhere, I'm assuming? You run it up to somebody's house?
It either comes out of the ground or it goes from the telephone pole directly to a person's house, depending on what's the current utilities there.
Okay. I've had some people mention about, the wire that comes, if it comes out of the ground, do you bury it to the house, or is that up to the customer?
We will bury it to the customer's house if that's the way they'd like it delivered.
Okay.
We can do it both ways. We have services with both options.
And is it a matter of just going to easternshorebroadband.com and signing up? Is that
Yep.
how that works?
ESVBA.com, and you can look up our website. You can Google search us. We have a telephone number you can call, and again, we're right in Exmoor. People can, I know it's a little bit of a drive to get up here or come down there, but you can come to our office, you can call us, you can go to our website and fill out a form, and it's simple. It just says ask for your name, contact information, we'll contact you. And I will mention that we did just send out a mailer to the island of Chincoteague. Actually, we're piloting a new program here on Chincoteague. We started it several weeks ago, where people are getting 1 free month of service, just to try to make people more aware of it, because we think that we want to make sure that the island is aware that it's a service that we're making available to the island. It's the first place we've done this.
You just sent that out, you said?
Yeah, it came out. It should have come in people's mail last week or the week before, but in the past 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I will have to say, the motel is on it, and it's phenomenal.
We have a hard cable here too, don't we?
Yes.
So we have a hard,
Yep.
yeah, I think y'all gave it to us.
Yep, that's correct.
And thank you.
And the fire department.
Yeah, so same look.
And the schools are on it too, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Now,
Go ahead.
to the high school, isn't that the end of the?
No, we used to stop at the high school, and now we go all the way up Main Street, all the way up to the north end to the landfill.
You do?
Yep.
So
We built that 2 years ago.
if I wanted to connect at Misty Meadows, would I have to pay for the service coming all the way off the thing to me?
No, it's a $150 install. So we would put in whatever it would take to get it from where our cable. So if our cable is on one street over from where you are, we'll run the fiber around the corner to your house.
No matter how far off the road you are.
In the island of Chincoteague, that's correct.
Okay.
Again, we did that because, again, both counties have made it a concerted effort to make the towns the population centers, and that's where we want to provide services to our communities. So we invested more into the towns to support that, so everyone gets the same fee. It's easier to get. It's faster to get. Connectivity is easier.
Go ahead.
So your So.
It's okay.
Your service consists of internet, telephone,
No, we focus directly on internet only.
only internet only.
And we have people certainly who are using some of the voice over internet services like Vonage or Magic Jack, things of that nature. Same thing with cable television. Some people are like, hey, look, I've got to have my cable television. We understand that. Some people are like, hey, look, I'm happy to have Hulu and Netflix, and I don't want to be connected any more than I have to be. So they call it over the top. So we support any of those services across our network.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, any further questions? Thanks, sir. Appreciate you coming up.
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Next up, I think Mike is going to tell us about next door.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As everyone here knows, when the town took over operations of the Civic Center, we had some issues to address. One of those, and a big one, is replacement HVAC. I had a company to move the train from Chesapeake, Virginia, come up here, and they brought some engineers, and they took a look at the whole system there. The system is really should have been installed in a much larger building, but now what we have available for a building this size, we could install and be much more efficient. The current R-Series chiller there is the original chiller from 1996. I've seen this many times, and that the chiller at that time, they did not have available the saltwater treatment that they offer now, which they coat they coat the cooling fins so that salt water or salt air does not deteriorate those. Unfortunately, this chiller didn't have it, and now requires an outside source of coolant before we can operate it in hot weather, which is when you want it. Long story short, DeMoose engineers came up and took a look at this, and they recommended that we replace that chiller with 2 heat pumps. One's a 12.5, one's a 15-ton heat pumps. They would be located on the north elevation of the building and on a couple concrete foundations. They would take down the existing spiral ductwork in there, flip it end for end, and put the big end on the north side and use the same ductwork, which is very efficient and would hardly change the look appearance of the inside of the center. In addition to that, the existing control system exists of a large manual, mechanical weekly timer, basically, which no longer operates. So we're operating this system by hand. We want it, we turn it on. We don't want it, we turn it off. And it's very inefficient. Again, long story short, we can install this system, both new systems, to handle the big room during large events like we recently had Blueberry Festival. And these 2 systems, the engineers tell me that these 2 systems will take care of that big room by themselves. And they would also install a new digital control system, which basically is 2 Wi-Fi integrated thermostats that you could operate from any internet connection, an iPad, an iPhone, wherever you are. As long as you have an internet connection, you can service that unit or control the air in that building, both heat and I should say these heat pumps will do heat and air conditioning. They're very efficient. The engineers have come up with a way to install them without completely redesigning the whole thing, and I think it's a very good system for the money. Their price for doing all this, including the engineering drawings and everything like that, would be $167 and $38. I will say that this system, and there's a schematic of it right here up on the screen now, this system would not be the last thing we need here. As you all know, there are movable partitions in this building, which when deployed create individual rooms. This system would do the large room, but when we deploy those partitions, there would be no air in the existing room. So in the beginning, we would still use the existing boiler and chiller to do those individual rooms. And there are individual air handlers which accompany the chiller and boiler that would do just those rooms. And we could get by with that for the time being. 95% of the events over there are held in the large room with have those smaller rooms deployed. So I feel like we'd be all right that for a while. We'd be all right with that for a while because we would not be using those older systems that often. I'll be quite honest with you, knocking on wood, crossing my fingers, and doing everything we can. That chiller makes it through the cooling season this year. If it does, I think we'd be all right. But if we had to use it infrequently, I think that we'd be okay for a little while. And at a later time, when we maybe are more financially able, we would put some smaller heat pumps in those in there for those individual rooms when we partition them off. And that should be somewhat less than the $167,000 it would take to do this. I might also add that, as you all know, the original design, some architect had a nightmare one night and designed some clouds instead of a solid ceiling. And we lose a lot of conditioned air up between those clouds into the rafters of the building, which is, there's as much space above them as there is below. I think in-house we've come up with something where we could actually bridge the gap between those clouds, and you probably wouldn't notice it. We'd have a dark color, black or something like that. We could even put some lights in there so that it wouldn't change the appearance of the room, but it would be more efficient because we could insulate between those clouds and keep the air down where it's conditioned, where it should be, both heat and cold. That is something we can do in-house. We would also do the foundations for these units in-house. I would have to contract the electrical work is the only thing in addition to this $167,000. So what I'm asking you tonight is to approve me to use the authorities, the Civic Center Authority's investment account, and that was $282,893 that they had in an investment account that we took over and we received once we abolished the authority. And I'd like to use that money to first do this HVAC modification.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the expenditure as town manager presented.
Second.
Motion in the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I think what I did not point out is that these are all train units, they're all name brand train units. They will get a price increase, so I'm going to get this under contract, but we don't yet have a time when we're going to do it because we'll have to pick out time between events when they have enough time to get the work done. But we'll get them under contract and get the units ordered and then schedule that.
That's a lot less than what we had thought. I mean, we were looking at what, 700,000 for a new system?
Well, the chiller itself, and I've purchased a few of these. The chiller itself probably now is worth about $250,000 if you have to replace it. The existing chiller has two circuits, so it's double redundancy, and one circuit is completely empty of any refrigerant, so there's a leak somewhere. But that system takes 58 pounds of refrigerant, and R22 is the discontinued refrigerant.
Nice.
Cost a fortune to replace it with. They do not recommend using the replacement refrigerant for R22 in this unit. So basically, we're operating on half the system, and unless I say I'm doing a little business, we'll make it through to maybe October with this.
Wow. If it survived the Buckaroo Bingo, it'll survive anything. That was the most people I'd ever seen. Good.
I will also say today that our Public Works Department went up there and cleaned the coils in those air handlers, which hasn't been done in a number of years, and airflow should increase immeasurably right now. They're probably getting 20% more airflow than they did during the Blueberry Festival.
Right. Wow. All righty. Thank you, Mr. Talbot. Moving on. Mayor and council comments. Start to my right, Ms. Richardson. Ms. Bowden?
Always.
Always.
Just to reiterate what Evelyn and Robbie and Brian had said, not knowing what to expect after coming off of a 2-year hiatus of COVID, this carnival season was probably one of the best I have ever seen. The people they were just thrilled to death to come back to something familiar. And personally, I just want to say thank you to every single person that was involved, from everybody in the fire company to the town of Chincoteague, Public Works, bus drivers, police departments, sheriff's office, everybody, just everybody. And there's no way I could list them all. It was a tremendous success, and we're very, very grateful. And I believe everyone knows that, the proceeds go back into this town one way or another, whether it's to buy equipment or do scholarships or, $45,000 vet bills a year, things like that. But it was tremendous, and I can't thank everybody enough for the help and support, and hopefully we'll go there next year. And go Yankees! First place.
Vice Mayor Bott?
I don't have anything.
Okay.
He's still peeling potatoes.
I'm good. Thank you. Gene Wayne?
May God continue to bless.
Yeah.
Jay?
Just ditto what Denise said, resiliency is at its finest, especially when we have the group of people we have, the EMS, the police, our town, and kudos to all of them.
Thank you, Jay. What I've got very, very short. I just have to echo what Denise says, to see that the back work that goes into the planning, all the state troopers that were here, all the EMS people that were here, that we don't really see at Pony Pennant. I don't think we could have a successful Pony Pennant without them moving traffic and keeping traffic moving. And well, our streets are not designed for traffic. They were designed primarily when horse and buggies were moving. Yeah, I just have to thank everybody. It went fairly smoothly. I didn't get to see much of the carnival. I was in the back of the auxiliary. So I'd see people pass by, but I didn't get to see. I'd go out every now and again and just shake my head at how many people were there. It was crazy. And the lines July 4th for some of the stuff, I was like, they're standing in line for 2 hours. It's crazy.
The funnel cake line was all the way back to the information stand.
Oh, yeah.
That tells
all
you
the way
how
back
long
to
that
the
was.
Ferris wheel July 4th.
Yeah.
But I think we put in an additional fryer and
Yeah.
sped things up.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it sure was. And I thank the the citizens of Chincoteague for all their continued patience. I know when you have 35,000 extra people on the island, it kind of disrupts your daily routine. So I have to thank the citizens for their patience this week and this upcoming month, because traditionally this month is patience wears thin. August is always a bad month. All righty, that's it for me. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session. Let's see. Pursuant to Section 2.2-3711 A15 Code of Virginia, to discuss and review senior staff and potential business opportunities.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank y'all.